Shaka, is your team overachieving, or are you as good as maybe you thought you might be at this point?
Whew. Well, a good friend of mine says there's no such thing as overachieving, because if you do the very best you can, that's what you were capable of doing.
Right.
So, I think when you evaluate your team during the year, it's always incomplete, because you're not done yet. You want to keep getting better. I think we've made some progress. I told our guys, I thought last week we really played well for 3 out of 4 halves. I thought we, for our guys to go on the road in those two really tough environments, they did a great job. Again, for a game and a half. But we just got to keep getting better, and you get dealt cards sometimes. Every team does, with whether it's an injury or something happens in a guy's personal life, or in the game a guy gets hurt, and you just got to deal with that, and you got to keep working together the best you can to be successful. But I don't think at the beginning of the year, I don't ever really look at the season and say, okay, 19 games in this is what our record should be or needs to be, because I've learned that it doesn't really work that way. But I do think a lot of our guys are getting better individually, and our team has shown some signs, but at the same time we got a long way to go.
In West Virginia, Kansas gauntlet to get that split, how important was that for you now that it's over?
Well, it was just important, in that if you want to make any progress in this league, you got to find a way to win on the road. You're not going to win every game on the road. I don't think anyone is, but you got to find a way to win. And we had not found a way to win in our 2 previous road games. So it was big, and plus, those 2 teams are ranked teams and highly respected, and you know how it works with come NCAA tournament time, and it's all about who have you beaten, and to go on the road and get a win like we did at West Virginia, I think that'll stand up pretty strong in March. But again, it's more to me about us making progress and trying to get better. I thought defensively, we played really well for the majority of those 2 games. We still have a lot of things to get better at, like defensive rebounding, but that's why we practice.
Almost halfway through your first run through the Big 12, maybe what did you think this league was, and has anything surprised you or really caught your eye about the conference?
It's about what I thought. It's a great league and a deep league, and you play everyone twice, so there's no hiding from anyone. You look at certain other leagues, it's so dependent on what your conference schedule is, and who you play at home and who you play on the road. Our league, there's none of that. You're going to get everyone at home, you're going to get everyone on the road. So it's just going through it is just kind of reaffirmed for me what I already thought. And then you go to different venues, and you know the tough places to play, but then when you go experience it, that kind of colors it in for you.
Before you even went to China, you mentioned to us that this wasn't the most naturally confident group you've had before. Have you seen some of that confidence grow in these guys over the last couple of months?
I think I do think with most teams it ebbs and flows. I think it's a great question. I think it's a great thing to look at with all teams. I was just watching Iowa State actually against TCU before I came up here, and I got a lot of respect for just the way that a guy like Niang, he has a quiet confidence about him, and it just really impacts his teammates. But anyway, that's just one example. I think our confidence was growing in December. I thought the North Carolina win, obviously, that let our guys know that we could compete with anybody, because they're arguably, they may be number 1. I don't know when the poll comes out today. I thought when Cam got hurt, that did impact our guys' confidence. I remember the day after Cam got hurt, me trying to cheer up Isaiah, and he just, you know, Isaiah he can be dramatic, and but he basically had this look and this sentiment like, this is really, really, really bad. And I think, you know, when you have injuries, we had one last year with probably our most impactful player at VCU. When you have injuries, when it first happens, you're like, well, what are we going to do? But then, as I said, when it happened, we're not going to cancel the season. You keep playing games. And I do think our guys have gained some confidence playing without Cam over the last couple of weeks.
But did you talking to the guys after the game Saturday? I mean, they really seem like they know that they let one get away. That at least Connor and Javon feel like they're just as good as the number 3 team in the country. That has to manifest itself as this thing goes along. If they're feeling that here in January, with more games ahead, that's got to build on that, right?
Well, if you're consistent with that, I mean, it's easy to feel a certain kind of way after a game and say you feel that way, but it's all about what you do when you get out there on the court, you know. And I think I told our guys after the game, I said, nobody in our locker room should be bummed out, but you should be angry. There's a difference between those two things, and there should be an expectation if we want to do the things that our guys say we want to do, that you go in there and you find a way to win. Now, last 34 games, teams haven't done that. I mean, there's a reason that they have such a winning streak there. And again, in this league, it's really challenging to go on the road, but you know, you got to find a way. And so we play at home our next couple of games, and then we'll get back on the road, and you know, but between now and then, it's all about us taking care of our home court, which is not a given. You know, you have to go take care of business.
After the week that was last week with the ranked opponents, is kind of the easy letdown question, but how do you kind of keep the message fresh for a team like TCU, especially after what happened in Fort Worth?
Yeah, I mean, if you're any type of competitor, then you know you're playing a team that beat you the last time out. That's all there is to say. But I think to your point, it's really important that we come out with a level of aggressiveness, and we understand the same things that go into winning on the road against whoever go into winning at home against TCU or against whoever it is we play. So it's the same challenge, and for our team, I would say, much like for 99% of teams, it's a matter of getting more consistent in those areas. It's not like we haven't done those things. We just haven't done them consistently enough. I think most coaches would tell you the same thing. But we've got to get better. And the balance for me in practice is, you know, we could go practice for 3 hours today. Certainly there's that much stuff that I'd like to work on and get better at. But, you know, you want to have your guys fresh and healthy and ready to go in the game.
What is the status of Shaq?
I believe Shaq should be good to go. He did not practice yesterday, but I've not gotten official word that he's cleared, but I've been told that he's going to practice today. So,
Is it a shoulder injury?
yeah, shoulder injury. He didn't dislocate it, but he kind of jarred his shoulder. And Shaq said that he'd done it before, so he wasn't as worried about it. Initially, our athletic trainer told me it could be a week or two till he could come back. But Shaq was in good spirits yesterday, and we're hopeful that he's going to be able to practice today and definitely play tomorrow.
And you have all that depth in the front court, so it's not that big of a deal, right?
Yeah, no, he's important for us. And you know, here's one thing that I think is really interesting is if you look at Prince eBay before Cam got hurt, you know, he averaged however many fouls per minute that he did. Now he's doing a terrific job playing much more minutes, way more extended minutes without fouling, and to a lesser extent Shaq as well. But at the same time, you know, if the refs call a foul and you get 2 fouls and 10 minutes left in the first half, that puts you in a bind as a coach. So, yeah, we're definitely hopeful to have Shaq out there with us.
Do you in your mind have like a worst case scenario if Prince gets in foul trouble, fouls out, we're gonna do this. If Connor gets in foul trouble or fouls out, it's that. Or if Shaq, blows out his right shoulder and before halftime, we're going to this.
Well, you think through that kind of stuff. As a coach, I mean, there's 100 different scenarios that could happen. I believe in the power of intention, so I try not to.
You mentioned that.
I try not to speak that stuff into reality too much, but you know, we just have to find ways if those guys go out to try to match up. You know, obviously you can go to zone, which I don't particularly love to do, but it's been arguably somewhat effective, you know, when we've done that, and it certainly can keep you out of foul trouble, or keep you from fouling more if you are in foul trouble.
Shaka, other than just getting in the gym, how can Prince fix the free throw shooting issue? Is it a confidence thing? How is he handling that?
He handles it pretty well. Prince is a proud guy, and Prince is someone who really wants to help his team. I think if there is any type of silver lining from Cam's injury, it's that Prince has just taken on more responsibility, and you see him more engaged, and he's getting more opportunity. But as you mentioned, when he goes to the foul line, it's an adventure. And you know, we go to in practice, he'll make 10 in a row. I think he gets in the game, he gets a little nervous, and the way I look at it is, I mean, we're gonna continue to work on free throws with him, which he does every day, and he's pretty diligent about that, even before we ask him to. And then, you know, we get in the game, we have to support him and, you know, try to get him to shoot it the same way he does in practice, which he had one like that at Kansas. But, you know, as you know, the mind can be a powerful thing when it comes to impacting people's process. And I worked for Billy Donovan. We had a player that's actually now in the NBA that was really, really struggling with free throws, and he said, stop trying to make the free throw and try to shoot it the right way. And I thought that was good advice, but it's easier said than done.
Who was that?
Chandler Parsons.
Do you feel like you have to go 500 in Big 12 play to get in the tournament?
I have no idea. I'm just trying to beat TCU.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that. I would guess there'll probably be a team or more that probably is under 500 that makes the tournament. There was last year,
Right.
Texas.
Texas.
8 and 10, right?
Right.
So, and I think the league, I don't really get caught up in the numbers. I got guys on my staff that do that, but I think the league's as good or better numerically than last year. So, do we have to? I mean, we want to. We're going to try to win every game. We're 4-3 right now, and we're going to do everything we can to go 5-3. Then we regroup and get ready for the next one.
I mean, you're sitting there, you win, you could be tied for first Saturday. You beat Kansas, did you?
Yeah, no, I was aware of that. I was highly aware of that. Yeah, I mean, it's a cluster, you know, at the top or near the top, and you got to think there's going to continue to be a lot of teams beating up on each other. So, yeah, that would have been a great one to win, because then you're sitting there in first place, but we didn't get it done. I thought we played.
Well, you could have done different in that Kansas game, but you had.
Well, no, I think there's some things we could have done better, but sometimes a team has to be able to stick their chest out and in a place like that say, yeah, you know, we belong here, we can do this, and we're going to do it, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I thought we did that in the first half, but it's a 40-minute game, and we just got to get a little bit tougher minded to be able to pull that off.
Looking at the players with their confidence and then your mindsets, the plus sign on your hand, seeing with the several players as well, what does that speak to them, and how, what's that message I guess you're trying to give to them?
Well, I didn't ask them to do that. They saw that I did it, and they wanted to do it. It just reminded me to be positive. I mean, I really think with all this stuff, you can see the glass half empty or half full. You can focus on Prince Ebay's free throws, or you can focus on Prince Ebay being a dominating defensive presence. You know, I want to see the good stuff, choose to see the good stuff, and you don't ignore the other things, but you don't dwell on them either. You try to get better. I think players today, probably sound like an old guy, but players today, they respond better to believing in them. To me, the number one thing for our guys, and I would say most guys out there, is if they're in a good place and feeling good about themselves, they have a much better chance to go out there and follow the plan and be successful. If they don't feel good about themselves, whether it's because of something that's happening off the court, or whether it's because of a lack of success on the court, or a lack of relationship, or whatever, that's hard, man. It takes a special player to still go out and play well. So that's why I try to be positive, and I just use that as a reminder to myself, because it's easy in the game, with calls that don't go your way and different things that it's easy to go the other way.
Where was this team when you got here on that glass half empty, glass half full scale, and then how would you say they've grown over the last 9 months in that?
Yeah, it's a tough question to completely assess, because when I first got here, it was just an interesting dynamic, a lot of good players coming back, but a lot of guys who were coming off of, in their minds and maybe in your minds or people who follow the program's minds, quote-unquote unsuccessful individual seasons. There was a coaching change. And I think, I've said this to you guys before, my biggest deal with these guys has been, I just really listened for those first 2-3 months. I really listened, and I bit my tongue, and there was a lot of blame that they put on the former coaching staff. And it was like all about that. It was all about, man, they kept me from this or that. And that was a real red flag to me, because I knew that at some point we were going to have to take a level of accountability, all of us, for our own results. And I think that's kind of the journey that we've been on, and we continue to be on during this season. And sometimes when you have a tough result, nobody wants to win more than me. But sometimes, the positive of it is it really does force you to look in the mirror. So where were we confidence-wise? It was just a weird dynamic, because it was like a fake confidence and everything's fine now because there's been a coaching change. And I'm like, no, it's not. We've got to keep getting, we've got to address some of this stuff. And I think, are we all the way past that? No, but I do think our guys, there has been several times this season where they've been kind of put in a position. Billy always used to say put their backs against the wall, but there's been several times this year where they've been put in a place where it's like there's nowhere else to look. Like we gotta look inward, and I say we because it's a whole team thing. It's players, coaches, we're all in it together. But that's been an interesting journey, and I've learned a lot from it.
But do you think that the North Carolina win should have slammed the door on the past here, I would think? Because that's the moment that you are now fully in charge and they're fully bought in, right?
It doesn't work that way.
No, is it because they're kids? Well, I mean, they're 19, 20-year-old people, I should say.
If the North Carolina win should have slammed the door, then, and there's differences between basketball and football.
Right.
But like you could say the same thing about Oklahoma for the football team.
That's true.
You know what I mean? It just doesn't work that way. It doesn't. I wish it did. Be great. Here's why we beat North Carolina. Our guys are highly motivated to beat North Carolina, and they understood that beating North Carolina in their minds was more important than anything else. So they were willing to say, here's the plan and the process for beating North Carolina. I'm 1,000% committed to that, and everything else doesn't matter. For that 72 hours where we were focused on North Carolina.
Right.
Then North Carolina game ends, and human nature dictates that you don't stay that way when you play App State the next game. You know what I mean? And so your job as a player or as a coach is to try to battle that human nature. But yeah, I wish it did. I mean, that'd be great. But shoot, look at the Kansas game. The things that went into being successful in the Kansas game, you could say we did a way better job of those things in the first half than we did in the second half. Why would we go away from that? Well, there's several factors that come into play. And again, I always say these guys are not machines. They're human beings, and they're young, and they're just trying to learn. But I do think overall we've made progress in that regard. I don't think the door's been slammed or anything like that, but I think we've made progress.
Cool. 2 3 last ones. On those lines, Chuck, it's like the TCU game looks to be like a huge game. I would think in the coaching staff mind, because you're going to get up for Kansas.
You guys love huge games.
They're all pretty big, but TCU, well, you lost to them up there. You get them at home. Well,
Yeah.
You played well last week. Surely you should win. That's what you're fighting this week, right?
I think it's one of those things where, again, if a team has beaten you the last time out, that's it. I mean, what else is there to say?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like that game was a year ago. That game was 16 days ago, maybe. So, our team, and I like the way that they responded yesterday. And we'll see how we are today. But there should be an extreme level of motivation and drive. Is it a huge game? Every game is huge. I mean, that whole thing to me is so overrated, because it's like after the game gets done, someone said something a few weeks ago about a must win. Well, what does that mean? Like, does that mean if the team doesn't win that we're going to go out back and we're all going to get executed? Or does that mean if we do win that we're going to cancel the season? Like, we're going to do the best we can to go win the game. Like, we are. And I think that would probably be the same sentiment that most coaches would have.
Shaka, like you said, football and basketball aren't the same animal, but Jay Norvell kind of alluded to the same thing you were. That there's some, you can't get these kids to focus on the sport. There's so much other stuff, whether it's social media or whatever. Do championship teams, do they turn their players into machines better than others? Is that kind of what it comes down to this day and age?
Championship teams fight normal. Championship teams fight human nature. Championship teams find a recipe for success and they stick with it. Championship teams also have a level of good fortune. They do. I mean, it's a fact. If you take, so you look at our league and you say, okay, who's going to win the regular season? I don't know. Anybody, right? I mean, there's a lot of teams that could win. Now, let's say you said, well, so-and-so is going to win. And then that team loses their best player to injury or whatever. Like that, they need that good fortune. Like, that can't happen. It's in this league, no way. So you need all those things. But in terms of stuff you control, yeah, you've got to become more like a machine in terms of your approach and your willingness to say, whether it's a ranked team on the road or a team at home that just beat you or whatever it may be, we're going to take an unbelievably disciplined, team-oriented approach towards what goes into winning. And that's what the best teams are able to do. Plus, best teams have the best players. That helps too.
Last one. You're on Cam. What's his update as far as his return?
I wish I had more of an update for you. Tomorrow will be 4 weeks post-surgery, and I don't know. He had a doctor's appointment a couple weeks ago, and they took an X-ray, but you can't even really see much after a couple weeks in terms of progress or growth. It's challenging because it's a foot, it's not a hand or and he's putting a lot of weight on that thing once he does. He can't put weight on it right now. They say in a couple weeks he can start to do that. We're really hopeful that we can get him back at the end of the regular season or maybe for the conference tournament. But what the doctor said is a lot of it is just how his body responds, and he's been working his butt off in the weight room and up at practice. The other day he burned 1,500 calories in practice, which was second on our team, even though he wasn't practicing. So he's been working really hard on that, and we're just hopeful we can get him back soon. I think it's been for him a really eye-opening experience being on the side, and it gives me even more of an appreciation for his basketball IQ, because some of the things that he says on the side during practice, he's very insightful.
Do we burn those calories riding the bike, or?
Oh, we do. Strength coach does a lot of creative stuff. The other day, he had him, because he can't put weight on that thing, so he had him on his knees on a box. He's on his knees, and he's got boxing gloves on, and he's like punching a pad, burning calories, doing like a boxing workout. He lifts weights, does a lot of stuff there. He's doing a lot of like this type of stuff. He's riding a bike with one leg. Anything that he can do. A strength coach, Daniel Roos, he does a great job coming up with creative stuff, obviously within the limitations.
What was the message to the other guys that do the broken foot burning the second most calories on the team practice?
Nothing. He's the one that needs. I wish he would have been first. He's the one that needs to burn them the most. We have these monitors that basically tell you how many calories you burn. But yeah, you know how it is. Everyone's in such a different situation in terms of their body composition.
Thanks all, appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.